Hello, this is Angela with Parker's Permaculture. I'm standing in my woodland shade garden here. It doesn't really look very much like a woodland garden right now because we're doing some really big rehabbing. I'm sorry that there's some background noise. My neighbors are mowing, but this is the time that I have to film, so bear with me. Now, I'm not allowed to do any heavy lifting or digging yet. I'm supposed to take it really easy after my surgery, so I have commandeered Ruth to help me. She's being super nice and donating some of her time to help me out here. So my husband actually took out one of our big elderberries. Again, I can't do any heavy work, so he did it for me. This really large elderberry we took out because if we turn right here, you can see our air conditioner. This is where we're thinking in this part of the garden of putting more water catchment. And so I needed to move the elderberry. Also, the elderberry was rubbing against the house a little bit. I originally put it in very early on because it's right out this bedroom window. And in the springtime, when it is in bloom, you open up the window and all you would see were white blossoms and this unbelievable, delicious aroma of elderberry would come wafting into the bedroom. It was really, really lovely. But it's a little too big, it's a little too aggressive. It gets much larger, I think, because it's so happy here than what the tag said. And we want to utilize this area for water catchment as we are facing increasingly hotter, drier summers. So it's time to do something else in this space. Don't worry, I will be taking cuttings and rooting them and putting this elderberry elsewhere in the garden. When my husband dug up the elderberry, he had to move a couple of other plants, and Ruth is going to help me plant those today, and I wanted to show you a little bit of that and also some of the other things that are happening in this part of the garden right now. Let's start with this Epimedium. This is a native Epimedium. I try to have as many natives as I possibly can, and because, you know, a lot of Oregon is dense clay soil and woodland, there's tons of natives you can utilize. This Epimedium, also called barrenwort, has lovely little flowers that kind of bounce in the spring and through the summer. They're really airy and get blown about by the wind, but you can see here at the end of winter, beginning of spring, it looks terrible. And I am late getting to this, but what I should have done is cut all of this old foliage up, because you can see in the middle, here's the new foliage. So if you are growing Epimediums and you feel like, oh my gosh, are they diseased? What is going on? They look horrible in early spring. All of this foliage can get removed and cut to the ground. And then the new foliage in here will get to spring to life. So we're gonna work on that real quick and then I'll show you what it looks like. I've taken exactly 4 minutes here and cleaned up. You can see the foliage that was cut off. And I'm left with all of these new spring growths, and they will unfurl their leaves and then have a flush of flowers a little bit later on. Okay, same situation over here. I have some Dicentra formosa coming up. I have a fern that needs its old leaves removed, and I have some more Epimediums that need their old foliage removed. Now this variety, I don't know the name of it, but this variety blooms really early, and you can see those delicate little bouncy blossoms. So I'm gonna be really careful that I don't come in and remove those new shoots and those new flower buds. I'm just gonna come in and remove this old foliage. Again, I really should have done this a month or two ago, but it got away from me. The good news is that it's not too late. If you're careful and you trim really carefully and diligently, you can rehab this plant and make it look fantastic this year. All right, now we're all cleaned up. You can see this area definitely needs some mulch applied to it, kind of dressing around the plants, but now there's room for all of these little new shoots to come up. Well, here's one leaf I missed. Go ahead and pull that out. But now it's got room to have that fresh new foliage really be showcased here along the path, and those lovely little bouncy blossoms as well. So when my husband dug up the elder, that he also dug up some anemone nemorosa, so I'm going to be moving those. Really love anemones in a woodland garden, and these bulbs were expensive, so I want to make sure that they don't go to waste. They will slowly spread and fill in, by the way. Also notice here, much mangled, is a native checker lily, fritillaria, and so I'm going to need to come in and move this out of this area as well, where we've dug this up, and we're going to put a rain barrel. Oh, also, doesn't matter where I dig in the garden and how many years we're here, I will find bits of this plastic mesh from when the previous owners put in sod This drives me crazy. This does not break down. It's everywhere, every inch of my garden. I'm forever finding bits of it. If you put down sod, please never, never, never use it with this horrible plastic backing. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to work on is in this area where we removed this elder. There was a geranium phaeum. This is one of my favorite geraniums. It's a wonderful tall woodland geranium, prefers full shade, a hardy geranium, and it produces these very dark purple leaf flowers on a long stalk, maybe 18 inches up. But it does spread, and that means it's really nice and easy to propagate. So I'm going to be splitting this into several plants and putting it elsewhere here in the woodland garden. I think maybe behind my low growing creeping comfrey over here. So you can see here I'm going to be able to divide each of these crowns. You can divide into a new plant. Geraniums are wonderfully easy to divide. Okay, so you can see here they're quite easy to break in half, although you can keep a Hori Hori handy if you want to saw them apart. If you're unsure where the roots are, you can go ahead and soak this in water really well so you can very clearly see where the different sections are, but really, hardy geraniums could not be any easier to divide. There we go. Whole new plant. That's it. That's all there is to it. Here's another one. Whole new plant. As long as you get some of this crown here and some of the roots, you'll be fine. Now, other folks would put these in a pot, a series of pots, and let them grow their roots out. I am very lazy and I just stick these in the ground, and I have not had any problem propagating geraniums that way. I just break them off, plunk them in the ground, and they do great. Let me show you a couple more here. So this was an investment of, $4 or whatever for the original 4-inch pot. And after 1 year, let me see how many babies I'm gonna have here in a second. Geranium phaeum looks wonderful in a drift with lots of those tall flowers. So really worth propagating. They're a little bit brittle, and you kind of just let them break at their natural break-off point, away from the mother plant. Okay, we're gonna call that good. So I've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new plants off of that one plant, and I'm going to plant them around behind me. I'm actually going to have Ruth do it because, again, I'm not supposed to do any digging. She'll be out here and help me in a second. So thanks for watching today, muddy hands and all. It is really starting to feel like spring. The Dicentra formosa waking up, the giant Solomon seal waking up, the anemones blooming. I'm very, very excited about the coming spring. Frustrated that I have to kind of limit myself in the garden here a little bit, and grateful for kids who are willing to help me. I'll be back really soon with more of what's happening and the changes that we're making this year in my permaculture garden. And get my hair out of my face here. Thank you again. Please be sure to check out the ways you can support this channel down below, and don't forget to click like and subscribe. I'll be back. Bye-bye.